and then we can see.
Nope.
Yeah, there's still an echo.
We're put on my phone.
Sorry?
Where do I go on my phone? On the email.
If you just click the Zoom link that was sent on WhatsApp, it should open.
Which working?
It's 9.
It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, so we'll.
Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahi Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahi Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Sai Ishwaraya Vidmahi Satya Devaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. So I'm starting chapter 10, the Incomprehensible. It happened around 1988. There was around about 1,400 students in the hostel of Swami's College in Vrindavan at Whitefield near Bangalore. Bhagavan Satya Sai visited the hostel one night. The delighted students respectfully stood in his presence. Suddenly, the electricity went off. In the darkness, Swami moved quietly towards the boy and whispered to him in his ears, "Atul, I'll give you something. Hold your hand." The boy extended his open hand and Swami placed a laddu in it. He further whispered to the boy, "Don't show it to anybody. Put your hand behind you." Suddenly, the electricity was restored. Bulbs came back to life. Atul looked around. Surprisingly, all the 1,400 boys assembled there were keeping their hands behind them. Everyone was having a laddu in his hand. That is Swami. We get astonished at the amazing leelas. Our reasoning power abandons us. Tongue fails us. Mind refuses to function. Nothing can be understood. How can we comment upon, much less explain, such displays of Swami's divine sport? That is why it is said, Yato vacho nirvantanti aprapya manasa saha, meaning that the universal absolute cannot be reached or comprehended by the bodily senses or by the mind. He arrives unnoticed. Madunahali is a small town that is located on the way on roadside from Tapati to Bangalore. There's a Swami school there. In February 1993, the school was to celebrate its anniversary. Teachers and students invited Swami to grace the occasion, and Swami gave his consent. But on a given day, he did not come, even though the expected teachers, students, and invites waited long for him. The cultural programs, children's dance, and other items were gone through without Swami's presence. In due course, even as everyone waited eagerly for Swami's arrival, the entire program was over. There's a cloud of disappointment casting a dark shadow over the celebrations. Later, the photographs taken on the occasion were developed and printed. To everybody's astonishment, one of the photographs taken during the dance item showed Swami standing among the dancing children. Not only that, Swami was seen in that picture not as a single place, but at 5 different places, wearing a different dress at each place. Om Sri Satya Sai Param Brahmane Namaha. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. End of chapter 10. Love is my form, truth is my breath, bliss is my food, my life is my message. Expansion is my life, no reason to love, no season for love, no birth, no death. Love of 1,000 mothers. Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba devotes 3/4 of his precious time to his students. He feels that the future of society rests solely on these innocent, clear-hearted children. He's all love for them. He tells them, look at me within your own selves. I look at myself in you. You're my life, my breath, and my soul. You're all, every one of you, my form. When I love you, I love my own self. When you love yourself, you're loving only me. Om Sai Ram.
Sairam. Agony moves Bhagavan. Once Bhagavan was in Vrindavan with his students. He said, when I'm here, you're distracted and are not studying properly. If I go away to Puttaparthi, you will devote yourself to studies. I'm leaving for Puttaparthi at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow. The students touched his feet and prayed, Swami, please, Swami, stay here. We will study well. But Swami insisted on leaving. Your parents entrusted you to my care. How can I see you running around me without studying? I must leave tomorrow. The next day was Monday. It was 8:30 a.m. In front of Trayi Vrindavan, Baba's white car was ready. The distressed students were also there with agony in their faces. Swami came down from his residence in the upper floor. The students humbly prayed and begged, but did not succeed. Swami took his seat in the car and left. With hearts heavy, the children went back to their rooms in the hostel. Their minds were full of Swami. What they read could not enter their minds. The absence of Swami rendered the entire environment colorless, lifeless, listless, dark, and silent. Every student quietly kept to his own room. No word, no greeting, no conversation, no pleasure, nothing but gloom. Barely 15 minutes passed when suddenly a student shouted, Swami is back! Swami is back! The rest of the students thought that he was perhaps in delusion. More than the others, he must have imagined a car arriving. But a few curious fellows peeped out of their windows. There, Swami's car was really entering the ashram presence. A couple of students were indeed running behind it. That was enough. All the students ran like deer on wings. By the time Swami alighted from his vehicle, they stood around it. Surprise on one side and delight on the other were shocking them. As Swami entered and went up the staircase, students were mutely standing below, staring at each other. What has happened? Why has Swami returned? Nobody knew. Then Swami spoke to them. A mere mention that I'm leaving creates so much commotion and disturbance. Everything gets upset. In the midst of all chaos, I forgot to take the keys. So I came back to take them. What is this? Can Swami forget keys? The hearts of children were filled with emotion and immeasurable happiness. Not a single eye remained dry. Silence ruled everywhere. But then they feared that Swami might get hold of his keys after all and go away. One student hesitatingly asked, Swami, shall we put things back in the car? Pretending to show anger, which everybody could see was not there. Swami said, no, I will leave in the evening. But the students, clever as they were, did not fail to see the bubbling smile behind Swami's show of anger. They all cried with one voice, Swami, Swami, please stay here, Swami. Swami turned to them and said, look, your sincere, transparent distress has dragged me back. If you want me to stay here, you should work hard on your studies. Then I assure you, I'll stay here. Get busy now with your studies. Spirituality connotes agonizing for God, intense yearning for God, and undergoing suffering and distress in quest of God. These are the essential features of spirituality. The flower of love. Once Swami paid a visit to Dharmakshetra in Mumbai. Teachers and students of Bal Vikas there made excellent arrangements to welcome him. Students sat in orderly rows, each of them holding a rose to be offered to Swami. Their faces were glowing in happy anticipation. There was a small child among them. He was too young to be admitted to Bal Vikas organization. He was nevertheless attending classes along with other members. He had also learned several slokas by heart. As he was too young to be seated in the front row, the teacher made him sit in a rear row. He was also not given a rose to hold. The little one's pain at being discriminated showed in his morose face. As he was keen to present a flower to Swami, just like the others, he requested some of them for a rose, but received none. Swami arrived on the dot. He walked along the rows of boys who were holding up flowers to him. He gently touched each flower offered to him and blessed every student. The little child was watching each step and each gesture of Swami as he slowly made his way along. Quietly, he slipped himself into the front row. Swami was now nearing him. Just at that moment, the child chanced to see in front of him a tiny flower of grass. He snatched it up and held it in his hand. When Swami arrived right in front of him, he raised his little hands and made his loving but uncommon offering to Swami. Swami smiled sweetly, accepted the simple offering from the child, and softly pressed his tender fingers. In appreciation of the little one's gesture, Swami patted him affectionately and also spoke a few words to him. While Swami merely touched the fine roses offered by the others, he carried in his hand the humble grass flower the little child so lovingly offered. The meetings that followed lasted 3 hours. After they ended, Swami came out and blessed those gathering there. But the little grass flower of love was still in Bhagavan's hand, as fresh as it was there 3 hours back. Bhagavan Sri Satyasai notices the yearning and distress lying deep in the heart of a devotee and responds to it. Shed a tear for me. This happened in 1976. Swami was in Vrindavan. Several engineers were moving all over the place, holding some construction plans in their hands. Sri Satya Sai came out to give darshan to assemble gathering. To the students crowded around him, he said, "My dear boys, I'm having a new hostel constructed for you. It will be very roomy and comfortable. It will come up at a little distance away at the back of our college building." Speaking for all of them, one of the boys said, "Swami, we are quite comfortable here, quite satisfied and happy. We do not want a new hostel, Swami. This Vrindavan is our home." Swami explained, "My dear boys, if you consider Vrindavan as your home, that's well and good. And I am happy that you are adjusting yourself to it and feeling satisfied. All the same, I am unable to bear the sight of you little boys cramped for space. It is my duty to ensure your comfort. Foundation stone for the new hostel building will be laid on the coming Thursday." Having said this, he moved ahead towards the open space beyond the portico to bless those waiting for his darshan. The foundation stone laying ceremony was to take place hardly 48 hours later. The engineers were very, very busy, but the students remained dissatisfied. They did not know what to do. When Baba visited the hostel on the next day, a boy, the youngest of them all, placed a letter in Baba's hand. He read it through and lovingly smiled at the little fellow. Then he sat on his throne and sent for the warden. When he presented himself, Swami gave the letter to him and asked it to be read aloud. It reads as follows. Dearest Sai Mother, our humblest salutations to your lotus feet. Are you displeased with us? Are we disturbing the silence that is most dear to you? Are we violating the code of discipline and behaving without due restraint? It must be. Otherwise, why would you try to send us away from the beautiful presence of Vrindavan? Why do you insist that a new hostel for us should be built at a far-off location? Vrindavan is a gracious place. It has brought your sweet and protective love and care very close to us. Even gods would desire to enjoy such love. With heartfelt love and affection, your child. If you are determined at any rate to build the new hostel far away from Vrindavan, kindly build also a new residence for you and stay close to us. As the warden finished reading, there was not a single boy without tears. In one voice, they cried, Swami, please accept our request. Bhagavan's heart melted at the sight. He immediately sent for chief engineer and conveyed the student's wish. He demurred, these plans have all been drawn with extreme care, and not much time is left for laying the foundation stone too. But the boys told him with one voice that only Vrindavan should be their home. Seeing the mood of the boys, Swami indicated to the chief engineer to have the plans redrawn. Fresh plans were made locating the new hostel within Vrindavan complex. On hearing the exciting news, the children were in ecstasy. On the appointed day, when Bhagavan Sri Satyasai was about to light the lamp of Aarti, a boy said, Swami, you're doing so much for our sake, but we have nothing to offer to you. Swami replied, happy tears are trickling down your tender cheeks. That is all I want. Shed a tear for me. What I desire most is only your happiness. That noble structure which stands now in Vrindavan complex is a sweet monument enduring for all time to Baba's immense love for children. In 1976, a number of deer from adjoining forests of Mudumalai strayed into Vrindavan. A nice place opposite to Trei was provided for them. Swami fed them with apples and looked after them with love. One day, as Swami emerged out of Trei to give darshan, students ran to him. At the same moment, in the garden opposite, deer too wanted to be close to Swami and moved up to him near the wire mesh that stood around the garden. Baba drew the attention of a devotee standing by to the enchanting scene comprised of loving children and the equally loving deer. He said, these are two-legged deer, and those are four-legged deer. Both are dear to me. Saira.
Sairam Uncle Satya. Sairam Uncle Satya, do you want to continue from Flew Driven Away? Sairam Vasudha, do you want to continue?
Yeah, sure.
His audio is working.
Flew driven away. Influenza once spread like wildfire in the higher secondary school in Prashanthi Nilayam. Nearly 200 students were affected. After the evening bhajan concluded, Swami asked Dr. Alreja to pay a visit to the school. The doctor found about 200 students suffering from high temperature, cough, and vomiting. The infection seemed to be beyond control. It was then 8 p.m. As the doctor made his way back to his room, he thought that as Swami's room would be closed at that hour, he would report to him next morning. At 8:30 p.m., a volunteer came to tell him that Swami was waiting for him. The doctor hurried into Swami's presence. Baba asked him, "I was waiting for you. Why have you not come to me immediately?" The doctor replied, "Swami, by the time I returned, it was 8 p.m. I thought that your door would be closed by that hour. About 200 students are suffering there from flu. I find it impossible to arrest its spread. I'm afraid at this stage, no medicine can help. Only you can save them." Next morning, Baba visited the school and the hospital. He walked through every single veranda and classroom. He went up to the roof, also despite the principal's protestations that it was not properly cleaned up. Swami then called for a stainless steel bucket filled with water. He materialized vibhuti in immense quantities and poured it into the water. He asked one of the teachers to carry the bucket around and serve the vibhuti water to every teacher and every student. The disease spread no further from then on. Within a space of 4 days, every single patient recovered fully. Swami's medical treatment is amazing and indestructible. Supremacy of spiritual learning. What should we pray to God for? Not for worldly wealth and enjoyment, not for material things and property, but for God Himself. Every blessing comes by itself in the wake of God. The learning that makes man yearn for God is known as spiritual learning. Swami once described how Mother Yashoda went after her prankster child, Krishna. "Yashoda," he said, held a lump of butter in one hand while she showed it to Krishna with a view to enticing him. She kept the other hand behind her back, holding a stick. When the little child drew near for butter, she would grasp him and deal a couple of strokes with the stick. That was her way of putting her errant child straight. Bhagavan Sri Satyasai reaches for us exactly in the same way, with worldly learning in his open hand, but holds spiritual learning in the other hidden hand. Boys and girls come eagerly seeking admission into his educational institutions, colleges, and university. Swami receives them and imparts spiritual learning along with worldly learning. Even an ordinary individual is gradually processed and refined in this manner. Man becomes truly wise in course of time. Swami's indescribable love makes it possible. In Baba's seats of learning, children are educated from kindergarten level to postgraduate level, absolutely free of charge. MBA, MFM, MTech computer courses have also been introduced in Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning, a deemed university. These are in addition to normal courses at bachelor's level in arts, science, and commerce, and master level courses in arts and sciences. Facilities are available for doctoral studies as well. A number of big, neat, roomy, and airy buildings have been built. A state-of-art planetarium costing crores of rupees has been installed. In November 2001, a new music college was also opened on the university campus. These are all tokens of Baba's boundless love for children. Side by side with these symbols of worldly learning, Baba ensures that the students receive spiritual learning too. My children are my entire property. On 22nd November 1981, the day of Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning was inaugurated. Swami addressed the students. He said, "Students should be the roots from which would grow trees of peace and security for the world. My purpose is to water those roots. I am dedicating myself in every way to students. I have immense faith in them. You ask anyone what property Sai Baba holds in his name. You will be told, oh, he has so many buildings, so much land, and so on. All those possessions amount to nothing. My sole property is nothing but my children. There are many who are unable to understand this simple truth. Such unfortunate persons who cannot imagine even a single mother's love can never gauge the love of 1,000 mothers. The most sublime quality of Sri Satya Sai is limitless patience. He says, countless persons criticize me. There are many who call me by all sorts of names. All kinds of wild things are written about me in newspapers. Thousands of pamphlets are published against me. I have only one answer to all of them, my smile. These are all but vicious reactions to what is indisputably good. Stones are hurled only at fruit-bearing trees. Some people are envious and intolerant by nature. As more and more Sri Satya Sai organizations blossom, as more and more Sri Satya Sai universities grows, their jealousy too grows by leaps and bounds. They fabricate more false stories, accusations, and gossip. Even children are dragged into these malicious activities. Paramatma Swarupulara, O embodiments of supreme divinity, what to say of these small-minded persons? Even if the whole world unites against me, no harm comes to me. My heart is always pure. I have no selfish ends. I have nothing of my own. This is my truth. Only criminals are beset with fear. Why should a lion doing no wrong be afraid? Whatever I do is for the welfare of the world, Jagat Kalyanam, not for myself. I am aware of this irresistible truth. Hence, I am ever in bliss, the unbroken bliss. Should I continue, Sister Kirti?
Yeah, one more section, please.
Okay. In 1983, students of Satya Sai College arranged a science exhibition in the Kalyana Mandapam, wedding hall in Vrindavan. Sri Govinda Narayan, then governor of Karnataka, was visiting Vrindavan for Swami's darshan. Baba brought him along to see the exhibition. On show were several models, scientific devices, and articrafts made by students. One of the items was a piece of alarm equipment. A ray of light proceeds from one end to the other, and if a hand is placed in between, an alarm rings. As Swami went around and reached that equipment, the student who had devised it told him, Swami, please put your hand here, and the alarm rings. Swami did so, but there was no sound. The student got perplexed. He said, just a moment, Swami, something seems to have gone wrong. I'll set it right. He tinkered with it a little, put his hand between the two ends, and sure enough, the alarm rang. Confident now, the student invited Swami to insert his hand. He did so, but again the alarm did not ring. The student got thoroughly confused by now and mumbled something about the equipment needing another repair. Then Swami told him, it needs no repair. I am not that kind of thief for whom you have designed this. So quite rightly, the alarm did not ring. He moved on. Science is not capable of reaching Swami. He transcends science. Oh, Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Oh, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll see you all tomorrow.